iconic world towers are testament to the true Indian spirit. Iconic not just to Mumbai, but to the country as a whole. It was passion that helped create this glittering icon set against the mesmerizing Mumbai skyline. And it is passion that drove these iconic personalities to reach the epitome of success. Hello and welcome to Life in the Skies at the World Towers, partnered by ET Now. I'm Sumit Lakhotia, and this week I'm in conversation with one of India's most renowned orthopedic and spine surgeons. Focused on ensuring that his patients receive the best possible care, orthopedic surgeon and spine specialist Dr. Nirad Vengsarkar's journey has been the very definition of success that hard work, grit and determination together can achieve. So Nirad, tell us a little bit about how your journey started. I mean, your father is also an orthopedic surgeon,
Yes.
so obviously was his career a big influence on why you chose to become one as well?
Yes, partly and partly not. See, very honestly, when we grew up in the 70s and the early 80s, we didn't know a lot of things of what, we were not exposed to a lot of choices.
Right.
Like now kids probably know they want to do computer designing, they want to be a graphic designer, whatever they want to do. In our time it was science, arts,
science, arts and commerce, yeah.
I knew what I didn't want, I didn't know what I wanted. So I didn't want arts and I didn't want commerce. So I was left with the option of science. And believe it or not, I actually did engineering. I mean, studied for engineering college and medical school, thinking that I would, after my class 12, which is what where we decide, make that intelligent decision as to whether to take up medicine or take up engineering. And in that period, when I was supposed to do my research on which line I was going to select, I slacked it because we were exhausted after all those exams. And when I got my marks, I did well enough to get into KM Hospital, which was at that time, or it is also now one of the better hospitals to go to. And lo and behold, I just went there. Me and a couple of friends, it was like, okay, we got the marks, let's just go. There was no real thought process, to be honest.
And then, of course, you did really well. I know you excelled academically with quite a few distinctions and gold medals and stuff like that. So, walk us through that journey.
Somehow, academics and me were like brother, sister, you know, I mean, it just went along with each other. So it was, it just came naturally to me. I didn't need to be probed or to be told to study. It was just something that doing well was what made me feel good. It's as simple as that. So that getting those results at the end of the year and somebody saying, oh, you come first, and was high enough for me.
Yes.
So I didn't need to be told to study. Then it just follows, you know, you do well and you get into a good college and you get into another college. So it was not something that I was really, as I said, forced to do. Parents never told me you have to study. I have an elder sister. She was the one who's to enjoy life more. So my outings used to be with her a lot, especially in school. And we did have a lot of fun in college and med school also. It was just such a natural flow for me. So it was not something that I had to put effort into or something like that. I'm not saying I was super intelligent, but it's just that it didn't really require a lot of dedication from my part. And
whereabouts did you decide that you wanted to become an orthopedic surgeon as opposed to any other line of medicine?
So again, what happens in med school, again, I don't know what kind of life we lived. I call myself brainless sometimes as to what we did. But we had these blinders on us and we moved from one exam to the other. So you know, just move from one. And when the time comes to decide what you want to do, I knew I wanted to do a surgical branch. For me, becoming a physician and writing down medicines and, you know, just being theoretical people and just writing down medication and not using your hands was not something that I wanted to do. So again, there I knew what I didn't want to do. When it came to surgery, there are many surgical options. And there I was a little bit, if you want to call it, brainwashed by some of my seniors and mentors into saying that since your father's already an orthopedic surgeon, wouldn't it be just easier for you to establish yourself if you have that backing?
Right.
So knowing that, I kind of got into orthopedics. Though it was probably a wise decision, in retrospectively speaking, because it did help me getting my foothold into this Bombay Bazaar.
Let's talk about med school.
So med school was in KM, where we spent 5.5 years and then 1 year of internship. And then I did my residency in Sion Hospital, which is again part of the municipal setup, which again was a totally interesting journey because there, that teaches you. That's like your military, you know how abroad they have military school where you go for 2 years of training. That was my military school. So it teaches you discipline, it teaches you hunger, it teaches you sleep deprivation.
Wow, okay.
So I remember
handling all the pressure as well.
Absolutely. There were 3 things that we did in med school, especially in the first one, in residency in the first 1.5 years. it was in order of sleep, eat, have a bath. Besides that, there was nothing else. And that really hardened us. So we went through jaundice, we went through losing weight, interestingly. So you want to lose weight, join residency. I still remember my boss asking me, how much do you weigh? And then he told me, you're going to lose probably 10%, if not more, of your body weight at the end of 6 months. And he was bang on.
So you don't need to diet.
You don't need to diet. Join residency.
Now, you're a consultant at, the top hospitals in Bombay. You have your own practice also at Ortho Insights. So tell us a little bit about all of that.
After my residency, I did another year of lecturer's post at Science. And then you need to get exposure abroad, or you need to get exposure to some other person than the person you've been taught by locally. I'll be very honest. Things are changing now. And there's a lot of wealth of information available on the internet. What residency teaches you is it gives you the confidence to cut, if I can use that word, and it gives you the feeling of being independent because you're given cases to do. So a lot of our residents that we have in private hospitals, they see a lot of good stuff. But unfortunately in private hospitals, they don't get their hands dirty, if I can use that word, so which you can do in a municipal hospital.
Interesting.
So besides that, after that, you have to own your skills. So medicine is an ever-evolving subject, and you need to keep updated and you need to learn more. So the only way you can do that is if you go abroad. That's one of the options. Though nowadays, I think things are much better here. So a lot of people are learning a lot of good things here, because a lot of the consultants in Bombay or outside Bombay in India are also top-notch.
So how are you now seeing, maybe the space where India is compared to the world? Like, there was a time when it used to be said that if anybody has a major disease, just go abroad, go to the US and get treated. But that is changing. So is that something you're seeing now, even in your field?
Absolutely. I don't see the need to go abroad, to be honest, for anything. Well, healthcare is a lot cheaper here than it is abroad. Some people do want to go there because they feel they're going to be under a better. So there are centers. I can't deny there are. See, the basic problem in India is we have, like, especially in Bombay, actually. On that front, I think cities like Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai are a lot better, because there generally doctors tend to work in one hospital, and so they tend to get more localized work. Here we kind of run around between different hospitals. So sometimes you don't have that hospital-based infrastructure. So here in India, typically a patient goes to a doctor. You don't say, I went to this hospital.
Yeah, very true.
So in Bombay, practice is doctor-based. It's not hospital-based. So when you want to go to a hospital, like say if you're suffering from cancer or something, people generally go to MD Anderson or to Sloan Kettering, or because they're known as an entirety, for the entirety. They've got their oncologists, oncosurgeons, radiation therapy, chemotherapy. It's all bundled in well. Here we have Tata, there are few independent good surgeons, but it's not very well bundled in. But in terms of orthopedics, I don't think we lag behind. So we may not be innovators, to be honest, but we follow or we adapt pretty soon.
Is this why also you started your own practice?
Ortho Insight, that's to be honest, that's just a clinic. It's me and my colleague and physiotherapists, we have support staff.
As a doctor, I know one of your mantras, and this is also for all doctors, I guess, is patient satisfaction.
Yes.
How are you trying to help connect with patients, make it easier for them, and not the old thing that, call me, come for an appointment 10 days later. And
that's extremely good. Actually, I could talk about this for hours together. So for me, to be honest, is the way people used to function in the past was they used to go to a doctor, and the doctor laid down the dictum that this is what you do, this medicine what you take, you come back and see me after 2 months, no questions asked. Right? And unfortunately, a lot of seniors are still doing that, but things are changing because people ask a lot of questions. So for me, when a person comes to me, my idea is first is always listen to the patient, because his story is, as it's called, history, is what he tells you, and that gives you ample information. So you need the patience, you need the time to listen to those things. Secondly is, if you understand what the problem is, then to explain to the patient what the problem is. In fact, my biggest worry, sometimes I explain so many things to the patient, I wonder whether they actually understand what I've explained to them. Because I actually go down to the anatomy, explain this, what is happening. At the end of it, I don't want them to go out having any doubts. So I always tell them, sometimes people rush into, here's my MRI, look at it. I'm like, wait, I'm not asked you to go. Tell me your story first, then I'll have a look at your MRI.
Right.
People get scared to come to a doctor because they feel they're always going to be the harbinger of bad news. So I don't think that's true. I mean, you just need to lay down the facts. Particularly in orthopedics, we generally deal with pain and disability. Besides, if you're looking at trauma, which is a different ball game. Fractures, you have to do them, you have to do them. But otherwise, most of the problems that the cold cases that come to your clinic are more disability and pain related. So the patient himself will tell you how disabled or pain. So to scare a patient that he's going to need surgery is something that, in fact, I ask my patients. They'd come to me and say, so-and-so doctor told me I need surgery. And I said, but do you need surgery? He said, no, I don't think so. So that solves the issue. You don't need surgery. No, but then why did he tell me he needs surgery? I said, now you have to go and ask the doctor the question. I can't answer. So I don't see how you can scare a patient into getting surgery done. The patient himself will tell you whether he needs surgery, since it's pain and disability driven.
What is your advice to patients on how they can lead a better life without injury?
Ask me, what can I do? I mean, see, so a lot of things, unfortunately, even in orthopedics, tend to be genetically driven. So if your parents had bad knees, you're very likely to get bad knees. If rheumatism, then obviously, yes, you're likely to get rheumatism. But certain things in our life is, what is in our control are two things. Our exercise and our diet, right? So weight control, that's in our control. So again, when we have patients who are now typically elderly, who are 65, 70, and they come with back issues, and we tell them to do exercise, when I look at them and I examine them, in my mind I'm going, how are they going to start? Because they've never exercised in their life. They've got big abdomens. Even big is fine, but if you have some tone, that's what I want. I'm not asking for the 6-pack, 8-pack look. I'm just asking for some tone, which you don't have. So, and while the younger generation is also now is a lot better, people know what exercises are, people are doing. In fact, we're getting a lot of exercise induced, and people who want to go back to being active. Just the other day, I just have it on my phone. A young guy who had operated for his hip replacement about 4 or 5 years ago. He threw his back.
Oh God!
And he messages me, doc, I have to do Kilimanjaro next year. So get me better before Kilimanjaro. So you know they are that eager to get back to being active.
That is true. The younger generation, at least some of them, are being more aware. What do you think defines you as an individual, as a doctor? What would you say defines you?
My the summary, as you would say, is that I believe in being honest, dedicated to my work, giving patients the truth, the whole truth, and whatever they need. The biggest worry that I have is the thing that hurts me most, if people ask me what is your biggest regret, is the way medicine is practiced in India. So if I was abroad, you know, you do your work, you work in an institute, you do your work, you go home, you get your medicine forces you to become an entrepreneur, which nobody teaches you. Because you get out of medical school, they hand you your degree and say, the world is yours, start practice. I mean, what do I do? What's my first step? You can sit in your clinic and nobody's going to come to your clinic, right? So there's no job guarantee. You're not an MBA student who gets a on-campus placement. So that really hurts you then, because I see a lot of my younger colleagues who are passing out now and they're like, what do I do? Where do I start? And they feel the comfort zone of staying around a hospital as residents, because it's so difficult to get into private practice. When you get into private practice, you're like, ye to bacha hai, ye kya karega? You know, that initial thing that everybody goes through. Everybody's young. Obviously, you're young. You have to start off somewhere. So, but that once you go through that phase, it's a lot easier. But you have to sort of go through that. So as I was saying, abroad it's easier because you go and get into a private practice, you get into a group practice with somebody senior, you get his work to do, which is what helped me, because my dad being an orthopedic surgeon, I got his work to do initially. So I was not just twiddling my thumbs, which kept my surgical hands active,
That's also
which helped me.
Very true. Fantastic. That is a really, really important point, and something I guess very few people have thought about. Nirad, our conversation will continue after this very short break. On the other side, me and Dr. Nirad Vengsarkar talk about life beyond his professional life and how he leads his personal life here at the iconic World Towers. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Life in the Skies here at the World Towers, partnered by ET Now, and I'm in conversation with the celebrated Dr. Nirad Vengsarkar, and we're going to talk to him about his life outside the operation theatre, outside the clinic here at the iconic World Towers where he stays. Nirad, you're a Bombay boy, all right? You've been here since always. So how do you relate to the vibe of the city, which is always like ever changing?
So Bombay is a melting hot pot, right? A lot of people, a lot of types of people.
Yeah.
But that's what actually puts me off. It's actually the crowds, the traffic, the pollution, and which was one of the most important decisions for me to select my place of residence.
Right.
I wanted something where I didn't have to travel too much. So it's close to my hospitals, it's close to my clinic,
Yeah.
sort of centrally located.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons I moved here. But Bombay has always been home for me, other than the time I was abroad for my work and for my studies.
I mean, the home is where the heart is, so
Absolutely.
it's always important.
Yeah.
And you being a doctor, you obviously know the importance of the rest time, the personal time. So,
Yeah.
you know, at a place like this, which is the iconic World Towers here in Mumbai, just why, what are some of the other reasons that made you click with this place and say that, you know, this is the right place for me and my family?
I used to live along the same road, very close by, and so I've grown up now in the Lower Parel area for the last 10 years.
Right.
So location-wise, close to the Phoenix Mills, close to Kamala Mills compound, so it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a very social place.
Right.
People know where you live. People, my friends want to come down and meet you. They know the place. The building standalone by itself has so many facilities, which actually is what enticed me. And initially, when I was a little afraid of moving into such a large building because I usually like smaller,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
more. You know, I grew up in a building where there were 7 families. That's all.
Of
and then
course,
moving
yeah,
to
yeah.
some place which has so many was kind of intimidating. But it's. I have a daughter. I have a single child. So for her, this place, I mean, she would have a lot more friends here.
Yeah,
It's everything's
yeah, of
in
course,
in
right,
your. You save that time of traveling, of getting to a gym or getting to a pool or
Yes.
getting to a club. I am a member of NSCI club, but I just go there every year to pay my annual membership. That's how often I go there. But having the facilities here, it just saves you. So I can go to the gym in the morning. I can, if I choose to play a sport on Sunday, it's just
Yeah.
there. So there
Right,
are no
of
excuses.
Yeah, that's also true.
So it
And-
follows that 20-second rule. You know, that if it takes you more than 20 seconds to think about something else, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
give up that idea. So when it's in the building, there's no escaping it.
True. I know you're a sports enthusiast. I know you've played squash. So,
Yeah.
and you've been living here for, I think, about 2.5 years.
2.5
is
years,
what you told me.
yes.
So, what were some of the biggest sports facilities that were attraction to you here and that you've been using so regularly?
So take a look at this place. I mean, I don't think you have something like this in Bombay. I've seen it in the movies and seen it abroad, but not seen it here.
Yeah.
Then there's simple things like you have your table tennis, you have your pools. The pool outside is
Yeah.
very, very nice. They have the indoor heated pool, which is again great. The track area where we can take our evening walks.
Oh, lovely.
And squash, as I said, I'm not played squash all my life. It's something that I took up,
Oh, yeah.
but it's something that I've been playing now for the last 2.5 years, and I love it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I agree
So it's
with
me,
you.
my wife, my daughter, all of us play squash now.
So, Nirad, you've extensively traveled the world. You've seen some of the major world icons, whether it's the Eiffel Tower, Burj Khalifa, Empire State Building, or Petronas Towers. And so your thoughts on living in one of India's icon to the world, the World Towers where we are today?
Interesting. So what is there not to like in this place? So right from the time, I'll tell you what really inspires me is when I drive off Tulsi Pipe Road and into the driveway into this. That's when you feel you've reached. So a lot of buildings are nice in Bombay,
Right.
but they're surrounded by slums and the access is not very easy. So this, I know this road is crowded, but you're going to have population, you're going to have crowds all over India. But in Bombay, I mean. But as you enter into our complex and then the fountain and the basic, the way the 3 towers rise above the fountain area, the concierge services, the indoors facilities that they have, and the apartments. I mean,
Right.
I really couldn't ask for more. I mean, it's not just the building, it's the finer finishes in the touches that they're given, even the management facility that they have in the building. I remember this one incident when my dad was not feeling too well and we needed to rush him to the hospital at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I called up the standard ambulance facilities there,
Right.
and they said they'll call me back.
Sure.
And we just realized that actually the building has its own ambulance. So we
Okay,
called up the concierge, and by the time we took him down in the wheelchair, the ambulance was waiting down.
Oh, fantastic.
And just to let you know that the ambulance people who I called called me after I reached the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Okay, wow.
just speaks for the efficiency.
So that's really important because, you know, it's always what is available or who is available to you in
Correct.
your time of need that
Correct.
really counts
Correct.
at the end of
Correct.
the day.
So my brother-in-law was incidentally a lawyer in Singapore who had come to visit us here, and he was highly impressed. And my brother-in-law is someone who's he's actually notices everything. So
Oh,
he noticed
fantastic. The
the
attention to
finishing,
detail.
had absolute attention to detail. So he noticed the
Lovely.
marble, the finishing, the wood engravings, everything to that extent. And he was mighty impressed that they could actually land up with such a product in India.
You know, Nirad, what's important for any person
Yeah.
is besides the work that is of course important, but the personal life balance.
Sure.
And with the doctor, I know you're orthopedic surgeon, so I mean, there are not that many emergencies, so to say, but I'm sure
That's true.
you do get like calls some late
Yes.
in the night,
Yes.
or you're always on call. Somebody can call you for consultation anytime. But how do you balance that work life and your private family life here at the World Towers?
So work has not changed in that way because I still leave at my odd hours and I come back at my odd hours. But at least on Sundays and like I said, I use the gym in the morning. So those things are something that I can squeeze into my schedule now.
That's important.
So earlier it was impossible. So right before I moved to this building, I joined a gym, again another interesting story, very close to my place. And I paid the annual fee, very enthusiastic that I'm going to go there. It was an afternoon session. I said, I'm going to take out time before my clinic starts. These are all these dreams that you have. And the year went by. And the gym calls me up after 1 year. So would you like to renew your membership? And I said, can you do me a favor? Can you just check your records and see how often I've been to your gym? So he says, actually, you haven't come here. So do you think I should renew my membership? And he said, no, sorry, it's okay, don't.
He said, you pay me back my fees.
Absolutely.
You're like this ideal customer for everyone. You seem to be
absolutely.
paying
The gym,
monthly fees everywhere and not going.
Not going.
What about downtime? What does Nirad do on his downtime to, rejuvenate?
To detox?
Yeah.
So actually, I'm a big movie and TV buff.
Lovely.
I don't like to admit to it, and I try to say I'm going to cut down on my time. But that actually gives me time to just not think. See, all throughout the day, particularly in the clinic, I'm talking for 6 hours to patients, explaining the same problem, this, that.
Yeah.
Close to 6 hours. So the last thing I want to come home is sit and talk to somebody about some other problem. So that brings me to the location, because since we're so close to the Phoenix Mills, something that my wife and my child, we all like to do is just go there. Every weekend we try to go there. I at least have a meal there, not in COVID times, but otherwise have a meal there, probably catch a movie, there's something to do, and just generally hang out.
Yeah, I can imagine, because that's when you kind of connect, and when, I mean, I get that quite often, because I'm talking on TV, and then at home I'm just like quiet, and then I know what you mean by that. And at home, everybody has a favorite spot at home. So is there somewhere that you like to go?
So at home it's the deck outside.
Okay, lovely.
So to have a cup of tea or...
And the view is also quite relaxing,
absolutely.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And in the World Towers, we often come down to the Cafe W to have a coffee or something. That's on the weekends, obviously. And otherwise, it's the facilities that I use, as I told you.
So we spoke about your work mantra in the first segment. Any personal life mantra?
So I believe, honestly, do something that makes you happy. Ultimate goal in life is to be happy. Whatever makes you happy, do it, as long as it's not harming anybody else. So for me, whatever you work and whatever you earn has to go into something, right? You should not just sitting with a bank balance and saying I've got so much. If the people around you are not being happy, so we generally asked my daughter, would she want to move from here? And she said no, because she's very happy with the friends and she's very happy with the building itself. So to see that happiness in her eyes is what ultimately makes you happy, right?
Very true. I mean, that's
so is my wife. She's also extremely happy with this place. So for me, a fancy car is not as important as a comfortable house.
True.
It's what makes one happy.
And at the end of the day, just the smile on everybody's, the family's face. That's most important. If you go back in time, and if I gave you a time machine and I said, Nirad, okay, you can go back in time and change something in your life, would there be something that you would change?
For that, we'll have to do a completely different episode, a full 30 minutes on that. No, but honestly speaking, well, sometimes I do wonder what would have happened if I had stayed back in America when I had a chance to, and how life would be. And that kind of still sometimes troubles me. But as far as being a doctor, I don't think I would change that. As far as being an orthopedic surgeon, I don't think I would change that.
Fantastic.
So those two things would pretty much be the same.
Lovely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Nirad, and to getting to know so much about you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
As glamorous as it might seem, the recipe to success is all about hard work and learning from life the lessons that it teaches us, just as we heard from Dr. Vengsarkar. That's all on this episode of Life in the Skies at the World Towers, partnered by ET Now. But next week, we'll be back from the same place, same time, with another iconic individual's inspiring journey from right here at the World Towers. Until then, goodbye and many thanks for watching.